Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Non-Stop Talking with your girl here, Vivian Liu. Today, my camera ran out of battery, so I'm using my sister's vlogging camera, and the quality looks so much better than my basic shit. Anyways, my state is currently on fire, so I haven't been in the best mood. I don't know how the energy level is gonna be for this video, but hopefully I can try to remain positive. I haven't been in a filming mood for a while, so I didn't do my July and August wrap up, so I thought I would just combine them and do them together, and this is it. My last videos for the wrap up, I actually wrote out everything, or I typed out everything, and I read from my iPad, and it was really awkward and really obvious when I was editing the video, but I'd already committed to filming it and there was just no going back. So this time around I just kind of wrote down the titles, the author's name, and my rating, and hopefully, because I don't know if I still remember the stuff I read in July, but hopefully from my memory I would be able to give you somewhat of a decent-ish review. In total for July 2020, I read 5 audiobooks, 5 manga volumes, 1 graphic novel, and 1 short story. I didn't read much because I was doing a lot of writing and editing, but it was still a decent reading month. Number 1 is Tuesdays with Mori, An Old Man, a Young Man, and Life's Greatest Lesson by Mitch Albom. So this is a non-fiction. It's about a professor who's dying, and then his previous student finds out and decides to interview him, and from there this book came to be about life lessons. This has been on my TBR for so long. I have the physical book, or technically it's not mine, it's my brother's, and it's one of his favorite books, and I've always been wanting to read it, but I've never been in the mood to pick it up. And finally I was just you know what, it's just time to pick up the audiobook, which is what I did. The audiobook, the anniversary edition, at the end has the actual recordings, and I thought that was really cool. It was a really nice touch, and then there was a author's reflection, you know, because of the anniversary. I personally really like this. I thought the life lessons really came through, and it was something that I was wow, you know, while listening to it. There was one thing that really stood out for me, and that was when the professor kind of told the student oh, when I pass away, feel free to come to my tombstone and picnic with me and chat with me, even though I can't respond. And the student was ooh, that's weird, but I guess I should try it because my professor's telling me to do it. Chinese culture already does this, and I personally don't think it's weird at all. But yeah, I really thought this was a really good book, in the sense that I felt so many of the lessons were just things that I needed to hear, and I don't know if I would pick up anything more from this author, but this one was really good. 4 out of 5. Number 2 is The Program by Suzanne Young. This book I gave a 3.8 out of 5. It is a YA dystopian, and in this world, teenagers are depressed, and a lot of them are committing suicide to the point where it's become an epidemic. The government has funded this program called The Program, where they wipe the bad memories so that teenagers are no longer depressed and thus no longer suicidal. I was really intrigued by this concept, and I felt that it sounded really novel, and it felt like there was going to be a strong emotional touch to it, and I was looking forward to that. I thought that this book made me think a lot, in the sense that how far of boundaries are we allowed to push in the name of saving someone's life. All in all, I was really just wowed by the plot. My only issue was that I felt like for such a deep topic, there was a little bit too much like dull teenage drama stunting it that was scattered throughout the story. I know that Realm is a lot of people's faves. I personally didn't find him captivating, and the main love story in this, I think it could have been better. So there were things that could have been better, but I thought like the premise itself was just very interesting, hence the 3.8 out of 5. Number 3 is The Treatment by Suzanne Young. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. So this is the second book in the program series. I think it was like originally a duology, and now it's like 6 books, but like each like pair is like by itself together. Sorry, I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I don't know if I am going to continue with the rest of the series. Let me know if you think it's worth my time. The concept is obviously still very interesting, but I think this time around, like, the action wasn't enough, and I think the message came off very heavy-handed at times. The ending was solid. I like that. I think it felt like that realistic touch to it. And yeah, let me know if I should continue on with the series, because obviously I didn't hate it. I gave the second book a 3.5 out of 5, but I just feel like it wasn't really able to like wow me as much as I thought it would with how intriguing the premise was. Number 4 is Head Over Heels by Hannah Ornstein. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. It is a contemporary romance where the main character was like an up-and-coming gymnast when she was a teenager, and then after an injury she was dashed of her Olympic dreams, and it's kind of about her story like after setting up the premise, and now like we see her in adulthood. I was really looking forward to this because I love gymnastics, and I thought this would be like really fun. I think the author really is a gymnastic fan herself, because a lot of things were explained really well, and the sport was discussed very like appropriately. There was a lot of spotlighting the issues that are plaguing the sport with bullying coaches and sexual abuse allegations. So I really appreciated that. My main thing is that, okay, so this is a contemporary romance, right? And the romance itself had no chemistry whatsoever. Like, the romance was such a like, it was just not necessary. If this was more of a story focused on like the main character's like growth and comeback, and if there was even like just more focus on the sport itself and the issues that is plaguing the sport, I think that would have been perfectly fine. If there was a little bit more about Jasmine, that would have been great. But yeah, I think if this book was marketed as like, you know, a woman in like adulthood trying to like find herself, trying to rediscover her passions, get her life on track, I think that would have been great if it was just like a contemporary. But it's a romance as well, and the romance didn't deliver. So it failed out as a romance, but it was a decent contemporary, and I liked it enough that I gave it a, 3.5 out of 5. Number 5 is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. I never read this YA classic for school, and I've always heard so much about it, and I was always really curious about it. It's the main character is Ponyboy, and he's a greaser, and it kind of talks about like the social clashes between greasers and, you know, the richer kids soc, and how like these two clash, and what happens when one of Ponyboy's friends kind of accidentally murders a soc. I know a lot of people have probably read The Outsiders, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's so good. I can't believe that the author wrote this when they were just a teenager. Super duper impressive. This was very well written. It felt super realistic. I think the way it presented class struggle was very well done and well discussed. I love Ponyboy, and I just want to give that kid a hug. The characterization in this was just spectacular. It was a very emotional and deep read, and I think the ending was a tad little too cheesy, but overall this was just a success. And like I said, I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. Alright, that's it for audiobooks. Moving on, we go into manga, and one of the mangas that I read this month is The Way of the House Husband, Volume 2 by Kosuke Ono. I gave this a 4 out of 5. I loved the first volume. It was hilarious, and I think the second volume wasn't as good as the first in my opinion, but it's still funny and still entertaining. So what this is about is pretty much an ex-yakuza. He gets married and he takes on the role of being the house husband, and I agree with other comments where this is essentially just a display of an ex-yakuza doing house chores in the most yakuza way. It's hilarious, but I don't know how long the mangaka can keep this up. I think there has to be other things than it being like just episodic fun bits pieces for me. Like, I think moving on or moving forward, I would like to see more plot. I would like to see the backstory of how the wife and the husband met, fell in love, and got married. So hopefully we will see that in the upcoming volumes. Number 7 is Orange, Volume 5 by Ichigo Takano, and I gave this a 3.8 out of 5. This is a slice of life manga, and in the first volume, our main girl, who I believe is in high school, she gets a letter from her future self telling her that she needs to pay more attention to the new kid at school, and she just needs to save him. So there is a volume 6 for Orange, but volume 5 was the original conclusion, and I thought it was a very solid ending. My only issue with Orange is that I feel like everyone loves Orange. Everyone who reads Orange loves Orange, and I really wanted to be one of those people who just love Orange, and I wasn't. There were just some aspects I didn't really vibe with, and maybe I went to it with like too high of an expectations, but it didn't like kick me in the emotional gut as much as I thought it would. But overall, like, it was still like pretty solid, pretty decent, and I mean, yeah, 3.8, that's not bad. Number 8 is Happy Marriage Volume 2 by Maki and Joji. I gave this a 3.3 out of 5. I didn't like the second volume as much as the first one. I thought the first one was like really fun, and I think the second one was lacking in the fun antics, and it really pushed back the relationship progression. Every time the couple would take a few steps forward, the plot would suddenly in the next chapter push it back like a huge big step, and it gets very tiring reading a relationship that is progressing like that. Therefore, I will pick up the third volume and kind of see where my opinions are with that and decide whether I want to continue on with the series. I like the art style. I've liked some other stuff that I've read from this mangaka, and hopefully volume 3 will impress me and draw me back into the story again. I mean, honestly, there hasn't been anything like serious that has like turned me off from the story, and I do like the art style, and that's why I picked up volume 3 of Happy Marriage, which is number 9 in this like order list that I have. I feel like this volume, the plot is very much, oh, did I tell you what Happy Marriage is about? Pretty much it's poor girl gets in an arranged contract marriage with a rich guy. The poor girl actually works at this guy's company, and yeah. So volume 3, we get the really typical like thing that happens in these storylines, where the couple goes to the family home for vacation, or not vacation, sorry, for the holidays, and they're met with like, you know, obviously the cold relatives that are like fighting over the inheritance and thinks the illegitimate child doesn't deserve it, even though the illegitimate child is like the most hardworking, the smartest, you know, things like that. So the plot in volume 3 kind of just writes itself once you've read enough of these types of shoujo manga. It's predictable, but I actually enjoyed it, so I was like, oh yay. So I will be picking up volume 4. I'm curious about the story all over again. I want to know more about the main guy's dad, and I am excited to see, hopefully, that the relationship will progress in a good direction in volume 4. No more pushing it back, okay, please. The last manga I read this month, and this is number 10, is Don't Be Cruel volume 9 by Yonezo Kota. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. This is a BL manga, and we've been following this couple since they've been in high school, and now they're kind of like in college and working, and I just love this couple so much because I feel like I've been following them through this journey for so long, and I will never like be disappointed that there is a story about them. However, right now this couple is so insecure in this relationship that their insecurities are kind of annoying me a little. I guess that's part of like moving your relationship into adulthood, from, you know, meeting as schoolboys, but it is dragging a little bit. However, I did appreciate the sweet moments when we did get the sweet moments. Like I said, I love this couple, and if this author keeps pushing out stuff about this couple, I will probably buy it, read it, and enjoy it. But I don't know. I do feel that it is probably time to like wrap their story up, because I don't know how much more you can do with it. Yeah, that's my opinion. Number 11 is a graphic novel, and it's Snow, Glass, Apples by Neil Gaiman and illustrated by Colleen Doran. I gave this a 4 out of 5. It is a dark Snow White retelling, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. The art in this, absolutely stunning. The twist in this, oh, it was so good. So good. I highly recommended it to a few of my friends who are like really into like art and graphic novels, and I think they also enjoyed it as well. And yeah, this was really good. All right, the only short story that I read in July 2020 is Epic, which is written by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy, and it is 2.5 in the Him series. Him is a male ice hockey romance. I gave this short story a 4.5 out of 5, and honestly, I just love this couple. Like, once again, this author could put out more Westme content, and I would just buy it and read it. Him is one of my like all-time favorite male romance novels, and yeah, I highly recommend it. That's it for July 2020. Now we're gonna move on into August 2020. So in August 2020, I consumed 6 audiobooks, 2 manga volumes, 1 graphic novel, and 2 physical books. One of them was a children's book. I was working quite a lot this past month, so I feel like I didn't read as much as before, but there were some like positive highs this past month and some like kind of flat stuff. But yeah, we'll get into it. Number 1 is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. It's so cute. It's a YA contemporary where this girl who isn't, I guess you can say like she's not prom queen material, but she runs for prom queen because of the scholarship money, and this book is so adorable. I loved it. The protagonist, absolutely lovely, and I think it would also place like a great spotlight on current day social issues. It had a good plot, solid conclusion. I think everything about it was just like very good, and I would highly recommend. And the cover is so cute. Number 2 is Brokeback Mountain by Annie. I don't think I am able to spell out this last name, so I'm just gonna spell it. It's Proulx. I have never seen the movie, but I've heard about the movie a lot, and I've always been really curious about the movie, and I didn't know that it was actually based off this short story, so there was no library hold on it, and I recently found that out through Goodreads. But yeah, why am I like slurring my words? Okay, so I recently found that out, that there's a short story for it. There was no hold on my library app, so I decided to give it a quick listen, and honestly, I was shocked. I was shocked by how emotional it made me. Okay, it literally like just like poked holes in my heart. I was bleeding for these characters. Now I really want to watch this movie. My only problem with this short story is that this was such a heart-wrenching love story, and I don't think that as a short story it was long enough and did like these two like cowboys justice in that sense. But oh, my heart. Number 3 is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's the new Hunger Games book, which is a prequel about President Snow. It's obviously written by Suzanne Collins, and I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. I originally had no interest in picking this up, but then I saw like people coming out with their opinions, and I was like, you know what? I want to have an opinion about that, because how did I feel about the Hunger Games trilogy? I thought it was decent, but I wasn't in love with it as like everyone else was. But it definitely like marked its place in like pop culture. So I was curious about this. I read it. I didn't like it. And pretty much if you read like the reviews or watch the reviews of people who didn't like this prequel, I feel the exact same way as them. Number 4 is Open Book by Jessica Simpson. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. It's like difficult to like rate a memoir or autobiography. I felt like the reviews for this were super duper high. Everyone was raving about it, and I, as like a former fan of Jessica Simpson's music and as a former fan of the reality show Newlyweds, was very like, my interest was piqued. I was like, I need to pick this up. I need to hear this. And I don't know, maybe I went into it with like too much hype and expectations, but the way people were talking about this, I thought this was gonna like change my like worldview in a way, but that didn't really happen. I don't know. I think I'm like rating this wrong, so don't take my rating into serious consideration. Read other people's. Number 5 is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This book is about pedophilia and grooming, and it gets very dark and bleak, and with how well written it is and with how realistic it comes off, it's a very difficult read, and it's super like popular right now in the book world. I feel like everyone is talking about it, everyone is reading it, especially in my part of the book world. So I was curious, before it kind of like really blew up, I like already tried to place a hold on it, and it was already like a long wait. And then when it blew up and I needed to like replace the hold on it, because like I needed to just take such long breaks in between listening to it, that it took me a really long time to finish it. And most of the times I was like waiting for my hold. But with this, I feel like I can understand why. I see why people love this, and I'm so glad that it was able to reach the people who needed it, who related to it, who felt seen by it. And I'm glad that it educated people in ways, because it definitely educated me in ways. But when I rate books, I also have to, the way I rate it, I also consider like my like entertainment level. And reading this, I felt like it was just something I was like pushing through and not truly reading it because like I was enjoying it, or I like really felt like a sincere, like I want to read this, I want to know the ending, I just felt like I want to read this, I want to be aware, I want to know, but I was like pushing myself, like it was kind of like a required reading or a chore in a way. So I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5, and like no like bad feelings to the book. I think it accomplished what it wanted to accomplish. I think, like I said, it was very well written, and it felt really, really realistic. Sometimes my issues with it was that it did feel a little bit long, but like honestly, once again, my opinions for this book I feel like really don't matter. Number 6, on a happier note, we're gonna move into some comedy right now, is How to American, an Immigrant's Guide to Disappointing Your Parents by Jimmy O. Yang. I gave this a 3.7 out of 5. My friend's friend recently recommended that recommended that I watch Jimmy O. Yang's special, and he said it was better than Ronnie Cheng's, which I really enjoyed. I personally think Ronnie's a little bit better, but Jimmy was good too, and that's why I decided to pick up his autobiography. His narration was actually like really funny. I like that, like it feels like he's kind of yelling at you in a way, but I think I watched his special and picked up his autobiography too soon, like back to back a little bit. And some of the things in his special are obviously also in his book. So for me, in my listening experience, was that it felt a little bit repetitive because I literally just heard this. But that's not the fault of the book. Overall, I still really enjoyed this, and I just love listening to people talk about their lives, especially when it's a life that is completely different from mine, and just listening to how they lived it, and then just their adventures, especially when I'm like, oh, they're so cool. So yes, I definitely enjoyed it, and I really respected his hot takes on like roles with accents and stuff. So yeah, go check it out. From audiobooks, we are now moving into graphic novels. The only graphic novel I read this month is number 7, SpiderMan, Spider-Gwen, Sitting in a Tree, by Brian Michael Bendis, I think. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. I was really looking forward to this. I thought it was going to be kind of focused on Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen's relationship, but it really wasn't. The concept was great. I was like intrigued by it nonetheless, even if it wasn't about the romance. But like as the graphic novel progressed, and it's not even that long, like it kind of just lost me, like, and I don't even know how that happens. The ending was nice, decent, but I don't think I can give something a high rating when like it couldn't hold on to my attention. Number 8 is The Way of the House Husband, Volume 3. So last month I read Volume 2, this month I read Volume 3. Sorry, I had to switch over to my camera. My sister's camera overheated. Sorry, Stace. But yeah, so hopefully the difference in quality isn't too starking. But continuing on where we left off, House Husband, Volume 3. This one, there is a story about flying cockroaches, and let me just tell you, I had an experience with flying cockroaches when I was studying abroad in Japan, and it was terrifying. So thanks for reminding me of that, House Husband. I think I'll always be forever haunted like by flying cockroaches, and whenever I hear about them, I'm just like, oh. This volume, I feel like it's really showing that the story is going to become like episodic in ways, and that's fine-ish. There were some that I enjoyed more than others. Obviously, we are also introduced to like a female version of, you know, our house husband character, which I didn't care much for. So I'm still enjoying the series, hence the 3.8 out of 5. But I have to say, like, moving forward, I really need like plot. I need interactions with the wife. I need some backstory. I need, I don't know. I feel like I can't just be like watching like skits on like SNL or like Mad TV, haha, kind of like thing. Or maybe it can. Maybe that's what other readers are like about it and want from it. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens in volume 4. Next manga, number 9, is Orange Volume 6, Future, by Ichigo Takano. I gave this a 3.8 out of 5, and so this is like the new ending, or it's not the new ending, but it's like bonus material after the conclusion volume 5. And I enjoyed volume 6, I would say. I think my main thing is that like I really like Sua, and although this volume didn't like help put Sua in the best light, but yeah, I like Sua. Was this volume necessary though? Probably not. Did I still enjoy it? Yeah, I would say I enjoyed it. My only like gripe about it would be like I felt like the transitions between, would it be considered time periods, alternate universes? I don't know, but the transitions between those weren't really smooth. But it's okay. I'm done with Orange now. I thought it was good. I can see why people loved it. I wasn't one of them. I would say I liked it. Number 10 is I Am Enough by Grace Byers, and it's illustrated by Katura A. Bobo. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. I remember the actress from Empire and was excited to see that she had written such a positive children's book. And so when I was browsing like those random Amazon bookstores, it was there, and I was like, I have time, let me read this real quick. It was good, but it wasn't great. I felt that it was just a little like basic. Like it had room to be better, but it wasn't bad. Number 11 is the only physical book I finished this month because I didn't start it this month, and it's The Raven Boys, which is the first book in the Raven Cycles, written by Maggie Stiefvater, and I gave this a 3 out of 5. If you don't know what this book is about, essentially it's about a psychic's daughter who's told that the boy that she loves, she will kill him if she kisses him. And then we meet our main character, Blue, who stumbles paths with these 4 like prep school boys, and they're trying to find this like magical thing. That was not a great summary, but I feel like most people know what this book is about. I really loved the atmosphere this book set. It was so good, like atmospherically, and I enjoyed the writing, I enjoyed the plot, but I don't know, there was like, from when I picked up the book, I like kind of forgot about it, and then it took me like a really long time to get back into like reading and completing it, and because of that, like how it like kind of was like forgotten in my attention, that's why I couldn't give this like a high rating. But I will be picking up the next book. I don't know what is going to happen, but I'm like excited for like more magic, more atmospheric stuff, more character growth. Everyone is just a little bit damaged in their own way. It's pretty awesome, and I don't know how I feel about this because I don't think it'll happen. But I kind of, from this first book, am shipping Blue and Gansey get together. I don't know if that's how things are supposed to work. It doesn't feel like it will. But let's see how things will shake up in the next book. Alright, that is my July 2020 and August 2020 reading wrap up. I am done with this. Finally, before I go, I just want to say Black Lives Still Matter. Breonna Taylor's killer has not been arrested yet. And outro time. Like, comment, subscribe. See you in my next video, whatever that is. Bye!